you see my screen?
Yes, you can.
Can you hear me? Okay, so I know the official title is Data Engineering Masterclass. That's why most of us are here. But I think a more appropriate title would be Breaking into Data Engineering. And the agenda for today is going to be, first of all, I will talk about my journey into data engineering, some career path, global opportunities. After this course, what are some next steps, trends in the markets, key technical and soft skills that you need to be a good data engineer. We will look at some real world example and understanding some data rules. Okay. So first, well, how has my journey been in data engineering? First of all, I was first a GIS analyst before I became a data engineer. I didn't just start my career as a data engineer. As a matter of fact, I was a software developer before I switched to GIS analyst, then data engineering. That's several years ago. The thing happened that while I was doing my NYSC in Iseyin, there was this case of typhoid I was having, and I noticed that certain core members that live in a particular area of town, there are only 3 areas where you could live as a core member. If you're living in that particular section, you are more likely to have typhoid. So I started trying to. Okay, someone asked, what does GIS mean? GIS means Geographical Information System. That's the father of data analytics, actually. It has been a field that used to exist before what we now call modern data analytics is existing. So what that means is that when I was doing it, I was convinced that it was the pure water factory that was serving us that has contaminated water, because I'm very careful with food and stuff like that. And when I did my research, I started collecting data to prove that, oh, this thing, I tabulated data, interviewed several COP members, went all a very detailed body of work. And as you know, nothing happened. Nobody, everybody just smiled like nothing happened. But then I came back to Lagos and I met my a cousin of mine who is a doctor of geographical information systems. And at that time, I didn't even know what I was doing was GIS. I mean, it was the bedrock for GIS. And he interviewed, it said, wow, this thing you have done is how GIS started. And I started with them. Then I pivoted into data engineering because it pays more money. So what are the career paths to explore? I'm going to, I hope it's fine. I'm going to try and run through the slides to give room for question and answer, because I know these slides cannot effectively capture what we are here for in terms of the things. What are the different career options? Because these days when we hear data engineering, data engineering, it can be very, very confusing, because all data engineers are not the same, and all data engineers don't do the same thing. In fact, to make it funny, there are people that are not data engineers that are actually doing the work of data engineer. So what do I mean? There are a lot of other people in the data practice, be data analyst and something. In fact, I joined the company a couple of years ago, where the guy that has done most of the data engineering work is actually a credit risk analyst, which is a little bit funny because credit risk analyst, but this guy was so hands-on. He has written all the procedures, all the distance. I just came automate. This guy has done practically 70% of my work ahead for me. So you have, as a data engineer, you're sitting at the middle ground between the business and the technology people. So you will sit in between the middle ground of the backbone of whatever company you're working to. The goal, like I always say, with EY, I'm a data strategy consultant. around data engineering, but I like to think of myself more like a data plumber, because the job of a data engineer is in a lot of ways is similar to that of a plumber, right? You get the good, what's the job of a data plumber? Get the good water where it's needed and get the bad water out of the system. So that's basically you. Think of that like data. Get data that is needed into the hands of people that need it, and get data that is not needed or bad quality data out of the system so that it doesn't influence the things that you will eventually be doing using data to do. So what does that even mean again? And why should we even, I know this may not necessarily be on the slide straight, why do we need data engineering? How many people here have heard the word data is the new code? Data is this, data is powerful, data is all that. Data in itself is useless. If you can't put value, if you can't get value from data, data then becomes useless. So analytics is how we get value out of data. But then with analytics comes the need for clean data, right? Most systems, machine learning, business intelligence, maybe it's even API, need data to run. In fact, someone argued that every application is data driven. Everything is data driven. But then getting this data from where it is being captured to where it is needed can sometimes take an hassle, right? Now, cleaning, transforming, and doing this data, making sure it's in the good hands is what makes a data practitioner a data engineer. Most of the times, data engineers come from different data backgrounds. So in a lot of cases, which is more common than not, is that someone who has been working around data before, maybe as a data entry clerk, maybe as a data scientist, maybe as a data engineer, as a data analyst, data scientist, machine learning enthusiast, or what have you, transition to becoming a data engineer, right? And being a data engineer now, if you transition to become a data engineer from those roles, I myself was a GIS analyst before I switched to data engineering, and I started doing all these data engineering stuff. So being a data engineer is actually also a transition role, because as you can see that my current role is no longer that of, I mean, the company I work for now don't see me as a data engineer again, even though I still see myself as one. I've had most of my experience building robust data pipelines and platforms, right? They see me more as a data strategy consultant, right? So when you are trying to define a data strategy and you need someone who can help you through the journey and help you build the whole this thing, what are the steps, who do you need to hire? They come talk to me and we advise them based on our experience. So that's data strategy. That's me transitioning. Of course, there are different other paths that people will follow. There is this very popular route, analytics engineer, which is BI focused, right? You know, data will either serve a business intelligence use case, machine learning use case, or an API integration. Those every data endeavor that you are doing, we have that end goal. Either is business intelligence. What is business intelligence? You're trying to know about the business, what is going on. Or if it's AI, which is coincidentally machine learning, right? It's either you all need data, or maybe you are sharing the API, maybe you are selling insight from the data, or you are selling the data as well. So all the products that you are building will be either of those three. Now, a data engineer that only focus on business intelligence, what we call the analytics engineer. So the analytics engineer is always there to say, hey, he's a data engineer, but you won't see him trying to do ML engineering. You won't see him trying to do AI engineering. It doesn't do that. You won't see him trying to do model performance testing. He's only focused on business intelligence, data modeling, helping business use big data to answer questions. So we have the big data engineer. You might be hearing big data is a characteristic of a special type of data. Not all data engineers are big data engineers, right? It depends on the volume, the velocity, and the variety of the data that you are dealing with. That was what makes you a big data engineer. Coincidentally, most big data engineers are also cloud data engineers. Not all the cases. All cloud data engineers are not necessarily big data engineers again, but sometimes there is, of course, there is a lot of overlaps in all of these roles. So now we have what we call cloud. That means if you are managing things in the cloud, you are using cloud service, maybe AWS, Azure, and this thing. So there are different flavors. And I mean, if you are joining a startup, only you will be doing all of these roles. So it's inside the art of a data engineer. And then we have the data platform architect, or you might think of it as an engineer, but most of the work that a data platform engineer does, or I still like the word architect, although in the data field, they are phasing out data architects. When we joined the industry, pre-COVID, we used to have a lot of data architects, but it's just like after this agile and we want to make everything fast to deliver, we have kind of phased out data architects, and we are now like, okay, let's just have data let's just have data architect, data engineer. So you might hear people say, oh, I'm a data platform engineer, or I'm a data platform architect. It's the same thing. What does that mean is that, hey, these are the guys that build, they are only responsible for data platform. Unlike the one that I didn't put here would be the machine learning engineer. I just remember now. Machine learning engineer, unlike the analytics engineer, that machine learning engineer only focus on machine learning endeavors, use cases. The data platform engineer just wants to build a platform. He doesn't care about, oh, this thing. This is the guy that will set up your Azure. This is the guy that will set up your data factory, run everything. This is the guy that will set up your Airflow to run things, to consume. He needs not necessarily have a deep knowledge of the business the way an analytics engineer will, or in the case of machine learning engineer, he just needs to know what model they are trying to build and work closely with the scientists. Platform that he chooses, it might now rely on platform architect or platform engineer to plan out that thing. And I don't know, different people have different motivation. I teach people in different fora, and in my mentorship classes, I always ask people, what's your motivation? Why do you want to do this? Because your motivation will ultimately decide how far you're going to go with this thing. You understand? In this our economy, you understand? So again, data is the new oil, and if you have noticed, the data analytics field is very, very noisy, right? Anybody can learn Excel, Power BI, and maybe a little bit of SQL, and they're already a data analyst. They're competing for your job, right? I remember when I decided to switch to this thing, Emperor. Yes. And then when I wanted to pick data engineering, I just realized I was a software engineer for a while. I love it. But then I saw that data engineers pay more. They pay data engineers more. They are more scarce, and that's it. You understand? And they pay a lot more money. And I decided that, okay, if this is the case, I'm just going. So if you say money is my motivation for being a data engineer, you are not, I'm just going to be brutally honest with you. That's it. Data engineers are generally paid more in organizations. That's just because of demand and supply. It wasn't always the case. It used to be that data scientists were paid more, right? And the disparity before, when we first got into this work between the data engineer and the software engineer, it used to be very, very huge, like up to 40% difference in salary, right? For the same years of experience, software engineer and data engineer. But that is not the case again. It's now the reverse. So most of the time now, you will see that data engineer is even paid more than a software engineer of similar experience. assuming every other thing remains the same, you understand? Okay, because someone might be saying in their own company, software engineer earn more than data engineer and data scientist earn more than this, than that. But the trend that we are seeing in the market now is that data engineers are very, very important. And is AI coming for our job? Yes, of course. AI is coming for everybody's job. But data engineer's job is the last one that is going to take. Because the day it takes the data engineer's job, that's the end of everything data analytics. All of us, we are preparing for that time because we know it will eventually come. It's only a matter of time when it's coming to take our time. I don't think it's sooner than you think it is, because a lot of model AI, Gen AI needs data. It needs quality data. And quality data is very scarce. Let me ask people in this, you can type if you can, what percentage of data will you generally consider quality data, good quality data, in average across different organizations? Anybody? People, you can just type if you're here. Maybe it's 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50% of an organization data will always be good data, 40%, 80%, 90%. I mean, the goal is for you to have 100%. People are not typing, no. Okay, someone says 65, that's Shiju. Okay, 65% of an organization data will normally be clean data. Any other person? Any other person? I hope people are not frying plantain like this and they are in this meeting. You can mute and speak and say something. I want this to be interactive, because when we are doing Saeed Oderin, the 10%. Wow, that's an extreme from 50 to 65 to 10%, but we are getting somewhere. Different perspective. Different perspective. I love that. I love that. I love that. Anybody? Okay, so that not to waste our time. The real answer is we don't really have exactly this thing. If we are talking about database, then they are 100% always dirty data everywhere. That one come. You understand? The thing is that if you are talking, most organizations, only less than 20%, of their data is actually of good quality. Average, that's the average across different organizations. And the people that can clean this data, that can build systems to clean it, not that we clean the data, because data cleaning is very, very simple. It's such a small part of what we do as data engineers, very, very minute part of what we do as data engineers, right? It's actually building the system, because you don't want to just clean the data once. You want to make sure what is causing this and you automate system. So the people that do that is data engineer. As long as AI will need data. Unfortunately, the only thing that generative AI cannot do right now is generate real world data. It needs real world data to train itself. So, and unfortunately, it cannot generate it, because anything it generates is artificial, and it needs to learn from this thing. So that's why data engineer may be the last job that is doing. If you are thinking, oh, maybe I'm a data analyst, I'm good, I'm safe, nothing will touch me or something, don't worry. One of my interns just built this thing that you just connects an AI agent that you connect to a database, and everything you are doing in Power BI, this guy is doing it, spilling out reports, all the charts, visualization, everything cleaner, and no story. You understand? And there are a lot of that products around. It's not the only person that is doing that. There are a lot of companies that built their infrastructure around doing those kind of things. You understand? So again, you cannot say, oh, this is just what I'm doing. I'm a data analyst and that's all. I'm not going to interact with, my job is safe. Even data engineers, nobody's job is safe in this our AI system. But don't let anybody scare you. New job will open. People will call themselves new name. You will hear AI something engineer. Excuse me. Okay. Now let's go to, okay, market demand. There is a high job availability, especially for data engineers in North America, EMEA, that's Europe, Middle East, and Africa. You understand? And there is also a very growing tech hub there. You can find a lot of job there. Asia Pacific, there's a lot. Remote work. In fact, a lot of time, I don't know what has happened these days. Maybe some people have spoiled the remote work market. It's not as easy as it is, as it used to be. And when I say remote, I'm talking about foreign remotes. Suppose you are living in Nigeria, there is that opportunity for you as a data engineer. So what are the skills that you will need? What are the essential skills that you're going to need for success in data engineering? What are those things that you need to master? Don't try to master. One thing I will tell you, don't try to master every single tool. Every year, new tools are being released. New things are happening. You understand? You need both technical skills and some soft skills. So technical skills like SQL and NoSQL modeling, data modeling is the basis. If you are learning Python and you don't know data modeling, you are wasting your time. If you're learning SQL and you can't do data modeling, you're wasting your time. You won't do well as a data engineer, because a good data engineer needs to be able to sit down with the business, look at the business process and model it out into being a robust data model and plan for future use cases. Of course, you are still going to need to know a language to process data. Python is a more common thing for ETL. Python is very good. If you want to go a little bit deep, you can learn Scala, but I don't see any reason why anybody should take Scala over Python right now, except the organization. Again, it depends on the kind of organization that you are with. Some maybe Scala, maybe R, maybe Python. And we advise, I will advise you to take Python, learn some Python, not Python like a developer, Python like a data engineer, not Python like a data analyst. I know people that have learned, what is it called? I've learned Pandas, PySpark, Matplotlib, and ordinary function. They find it difficult to write. A class in Python, it's difficult to just learn Python like you are an engineer, right? Not like a visualization. But you don't always know, because if you are dealing with pandas and all these things, you are dealing with data frame, right? You don't always know how your data is coming. So you need to be able to throw programming at it. Then CI/CD, infrastructure as a code, these are some concepts that it's not something you'll be doing heavily, or you may actually be doing it heavily, or you need to know it. Why do you need to know it? To be able to communicate with DevOps people. You understand? You're not going to be the one doing the bulk lifting of it, or unless you are a data platform architect or a data platform engineer, which is another flavor of data engineer. You are not really going to be doing much of CI/CD and stuff, but you need to know enough to be able to communicate with them and say, this is what I do, this is what I need. I need an instance here, I need to build a pipeline, I need to have a merge request that push this into production, and those kind of stuff. Containerization and orchestration. This is like our main work. So how do you containerize and make sure, oh, it works on my system, it's not working on this system, and you pack your processings, your ETLs, packages, put it on Docker, and if you now want to, depending on your organization, you might use Kubernetes. So tools like Airflow is very, very good, you understand. So again, that's data engineering technical skill for you. Of course, like everything, you need soft skill, right? You need soft skill, cross-team collaboration. You cannot do this work without having collaboration, because you sit at the junction of a lot of things. You understand? This person needs data, they come to you. This person needs answer to this, they come to you. You must be able to talk to the software developer, the very technical guys. You must be able to break it down to the very non-technical people also. So adaptability to new tools. Like I said, pre-COVID, Tableau used to be somewhat popular. In fact, when you are doing data analysis this thing that year, you will learn Tableau, you will learn Power BI. But immediately after COVID, in Nigeria, I'm not talking about outside Nigeria, it's like Tableau just fade away. Everybody is just Power BI because Microsoft was brutal and aggressive in their this thing. It doesn't mean Tableau is not good. Doesn't mean Tableau can't do what Power BI is doing. It's just that in your ecosystem, Power BI is what they are using. So whatever they are using or where you find yourself is what you will adapt to. So you might be in an ecosystem where Airflow is the biggest orchestration tool, only to get to another place and realize that, Prefect, once you understand the core, you can easily transition. Or you've been working, most of my career, I've actually been working in AWS and Azure more than AWS. I have actually never worked with GCP before, but I know that if you throw me on a GCP project today or a data platform that is built on GCP, I have no problem because I know that all the tools are almost the same, right? It's just the naming nomenclature and how things are set up that is slightly different. You will see Databricks, in fact, the way Databricks came, Snowflake, all these modern data tools, DBT, as of 2020, 2021, virtually very few people know DBT in Nigeria. Understand? Very few people use DBT. Very few people talk about DBT. But then you just hear DBT. DBT is very, very solid. Another tool may come. Don't follow the tool. Understand the concept, understand this thing. And you must be able to adapt to new tool because someone that knows Excel very well, we get a job before you that you are learning what is it called? That you are learning machine learning. You're building 10 machine learning models in 2 weeks. And I mean, it doesn't get you anywhere. But whatever tools and technology you have, you must be able to adapt to it because there will be new tools and technology. Problem framing and communication. You must be able to say, this is the problem you're trying to solve, right? This is how we are trying to solve it. And you must always present the team with, okay, this is a temporary fix. This is how we are doing things. This is not how we are supposed to do it. In an ideal situation, we ought to be doing things this way. We ought to be answering things this way. That's the way I see. That's the way I think things ought to be. That's one thing. And communication. You must be able to communicate with different stakeholders. And because you are a data engineer, a lot of times, a lot of us just fade away into the background. I remember there was this organization that I was working for, and we had this what is it saying that they do every year, this team bonding hangout, and different people were like, what do you do? Data engineering. I said, we don't know you. I said, that's good. The fact that you don't know me, it means I'm doing a very good job because the day everything breaks, that's the day you will know me, right? If all the pipelines are flowing very well, yes, you don't have to know me. And a lot of times, if you're an attention seeker, data engineering may not be the right career path for you because you may not receive Employee of the Year award. Data analysts, data scientists will always take the glory. They will take the goal. Software engineers are sometimes more respected, although that's beginning to change a little bit. But me, I don't care. As long as they pay you good money, I don't care who gets the glory. But again, that's just about essential skills that you need to be able to survive as a data real-world application. You see, most of your this day, they see that you are doing ETL. That's what you are going to be doing, ETL, building scalable ETL pipelines on AWS or Azure or whatever you have. That would be a real world reward application of ETL pipelines and data migration, because either you are building ETL or you are migrating data from one system to another system. So a day in the life of a data engineer is always doing either of those, or maybe they've done everything, and in this case, everything is going fine, and they are just sitting back, sipping tea and monitoring pipeline. Oh, this pipeline has run. Okay, this one has run. Everything green, 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 no red. Good. You can go and sleep. You wake up the next day, or you can go and face your second hustle, because in most cases in Nigeria, you don't really always have one hustle. So you just go and face your second hustle as a data engineer. It can also be streaming analytics, implementing stream analytics for near real-time insights. So things that we use, maybe the Kafka stream analytics on Azure, Kinesis on AWS. There's a lot of tools. Maybe you're using the Confluent platform, you're doing some sort of change data capture and other things like that to get the insights straight off to the listing. And again, another common reward project will be data migration. You're migrating from on-prem or from legacy system to another system, to another platform. In this case, you must understand both where you are migrating out of and where you are migrating to. That is why we have to learn several different skills. So roles and responsibility in data engineering, there are two. So as a data engineer, you must always have the what is it called? The analyst mindset. You understand? In fact, someone once said every data engineer is a data analyst. And that's because a lot of us started as analysts. And you just decide that, oh, okay, how do we even overlap? You can't work as a data engineer very well without a good data analyst. So in some cases, sometimes it's just you, it's just the other person. So you have to have the collaboration. It might be two different people, it might be three different people, it might be three different teams. But for you as a data analyst, as a data engineer, if you don't know what the analyst wants, you don't even know what you are building. And this has happened to me before. When I just thought, oh, when I thought, fine, I can have, I can do this, I'll be okay, I'll be fine. I know what the business wants, only to find out that business doesn't really care about everything that I'm proposing. You understand? And we have to redo things again. I mean, there are some core focus area, maybe it's business intelligence, maybe it's reporting, maybe it's machine learning, maybe it's dashboard, something, you're supporting something, and you must always have that when you are first breaking in. Don't try to be able to do everything. Do you get it? Don't try to be a data engineer that can do. In fact, that is a quick way to get yourself stuck learning continuously. You understand? You have to focus, know your strategy. What is your industry demanding? Which industry are you targeting and which industry are you building for? If it is the UK market, fine. I think the modern data stack is very, very heavy there. So Snowflake, Databricks, this thing. If it's still some markets where there's a lot of legacy, this thing, SSIS is still important in certain markets. You understand that they do. In Nigeria today, in fact, virtually this thing, very few companies use Snowflake. Very few companies, I don't even know one company that's implemented a data vault successfully here in Nigeria. You understand? Excuse me. I don't know one company that has implemented data vault successfully. Yeah, I mean, they may be, but you have to focus and master some essential skills. SQL, Python, learn some automation skill, and you are good. Again, identify your next career step effectively. Explore essential tools for success. SQL. You can be a data engineer without knowing much of Python, but if you don't know SQL like a pro, you won't be a good data engineer, because most data live in databases, ETL processes, You must consider relevant certification to boost. Now, this is for you that you are just entering, right? That you don't have any year of experience. So before someone tells you that certification don't matter, the right answer is it depends. It depends on where you are sitting. For someone like me, it's not by certification again. You understand? The years of experience are more than said it for itself. But if you want to be noticed as a newbie, you might need some certification. Okay, maybe it's fabric data engineer, maybe it's whatever, Snow Pro, data, whatever, professional, Databricks, associate data engineer. Those, you can use that one to get yourself noticed. What that shows is not that you know it. It's just that for me as a recruiter, what certification you showing me is that, okay, you've put an effort into trying to learn something. That's it. You understand? It's during the interview that we will now know maybe you are just a certified this thing, or maybe you really have passion about it, because you don't get certification in things that you don't have passion for because you think it worth it. Now, Udemy certificate of completion is not certification, no. So you must know that this certification must come from reputable company, maybe it's Astronomer and all the rest of them. Don't do it too much. I know people just collect certification, and not doing this thing. And consider pivot strategy. So you are applying for data engineering roles. You've not seen apply for data analyst. Yes, it is very noisy. It is very, very crowded as a data analyst. But like every other job, the bottom is always noisy. The bottom is always cloudy, right? Crowdy. You just need to find a way to break it. Because most of the time, it's people who are already data analysts that transform into data engineer. I would rather pick someone who has experience with data before over someone who has not this thing. And network with professionals, stay up to date about technology and trends in the industry. Like I said, things are changing. Even data models are changing. There was a time that everything we are doing in data warehousing is Kimball. In fact, we used to do OLAP cubes and stuff in the days of on-prem. All those things have moved away now. In cloud and modern data architecture, we just follow the medallion architecture. Nobody does OLAP cubes and all the rest of them again. Now, because technology have moved rapidly, and we now have a lot for less, you understand? Modern data stack and all the rest of them have come out. So you need to be aware of things. Otherwise, you might just be a data engineer that is behind the times. Okay. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. We like to explore opportunities together. I know some of you know my LinkedIn. I don't know if it's posted. I didn't have it on this slide, but we can look forward to connecting. And also more with Techie Academy. I don't want this to be like a marketing for them, but this is actually a marketing for them. You understand? But I want us to talk about the data engineering more than the Techie Academy. You guys are in Udance. If you're with Techie Academy, Benga is someone that is well known in the data community, especially data jobs Nigeria community. You realize that the upper tier of the data this thing in Nigeria is actually very, very close circle. So everybody knows each other. Benga knows Abayomi knows Ola knows Shegun. I mean, Shegun knows Abidemi knows Olajimi. We are all together like that. In fact, I always say I'm one. If you mention someone who has been doing data in Nigeria, anything data, not just data engineering, the last I've been doing it for over 5 years, I most likely will know them, or will be just one friend away from them. So this thing is very, very, this thing. So take action, network, start practicing mini projects now. Anything you do, either you use Kaggle data set or you do mini project or something. My own is don't do it for content creation. Don't be farming global talent visa with this thing and be disturbing the rest of us on LinkedIn and not let us rest when everything. But do it because you are learning. Because the worst thing you can do is to do nothing, right? Stay where you are, sleep, wake up and be wishing that, oh, I want to be a baller. I don't want to be a mechanic. I want to be a data engineer. But hey, if you don't take some steps, if you don't take certain actions, you might not get this thing. It might be mini project, it might be mimicking people, it might be watching videos, doing things that other people have done, you understand, and trying to replicate, practice AWS. There are a lot of free resources. Instead, the problem with free resources is that they don't always, you don't always get the structure that is needed in terms of, you don't even know if who puts that this thing is the head is correct or is not correct. I don't know if you are getting me. There is someone I know that we were still helping to find internship as a internship in data, but it's already releasing data engineering roadmap and stuff. He has never done it before. You understand? Now, these days, people can use GPT to generate any kind of content, right? Like these slides I'm presenting to you, a lot of it is generated by AI. I just took what the Techie Academy said. Oh, we want this. So I told AI, as my personal assistant, go and help me design. That's why you can see some Oyinbo there and not real Nigerian people. It's because it's AI that sourced this picture and stuff like that. But anybody, any idiot, someone that's never even worked a day in their life can be telling you things authoritatively on this. That's why there are some posts that we see on LinkedIn and we laugh. You understand? Again, I remember one of the things my doctor friends always tell me, when you going to, especially when you're visiting a private hospital, it's more important that you know the doctor you are going to see there, not necessarily the hospital. So when people say they are training you, and I'm not throwing jabs at any training tech company, it's the kind of people that they have that want to train that is more important than what they are doing. Because someone can just pull out, Nigeria unemployment rate is high now. You understand? Someone can just look at everybody and start, oh, we'll use GPT, we will vibe, teach everybody, right? GPT, I want to teach people so and so today. So you need good ends to guide you. And that's where I think Techie Academy will come if you decide to eventually follow them and do business with them. This will be the time for question and answers. I don't know if you have questions and answers. Q&A. That's the session we are in now. Questions? Should I assume? Okay, I think some people dropped some things in the comment section. Let me just read those. Sorry, I checked your LinkedIn and saw data ops. Can you also talk about it? Data ops is just the undercurrent of data engineering. So things like data governance, pipeline monitoring, data quality assurance is more like, is data operations, is the value chain of data engineering. Is the part of the data engineering that is more about value. A lot of it is not DevOps of data, but it borrows a lot of the DevOps ideologies. You understand? Agile and repeatable ways of doing things. More strategy than it is actually the building of things. Okay. You didn't answer this.
Very
okay,
much,
I've answered it. Thank you, Benga. So that'll be the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ola. You are highly appreciated. In fact, I really enjoyed the section. But at some point, everything you were saying, I was just laughing. Oh God, it was really fun. Thank you everyone thank everyone that joined. You are highly appreciated. Just to add more to what Ola has said, so we at Techie Academy, we offer data engineering as a course, and our data engineering is 12 months. The funny part of it is that Ola is the one that designed the data engineering curriculum. So imagine somebody like Ola designing the curriculum. So you can imagine how robust the curriculum is going to look like. So data engineering is 12 months, non-negotiable. You are going to be learning Python, PySpark, SQL. You are going to be learning Azure Databricks, AWS, Hadoop, Apache, and all of those things. Like, it's really, really intensive. You'll be learning DBT, you'll be learning Snowflake, and a whole lot of other things that are embedded that you are going to be learning, and it is fully packed. So I would like us to fill the feedback form, and we are going to reach out to you because we are going to be running a scholarship program anytime soon, in between now and the next 3 weeks. We are going to run a scholarship exam for those that are interested to get up to 50% discounts on the 6 programs that we are offering. So please kindly fill the feedback form so that we can send you the information about our scholarship, our programs, when we are starting, and every other information that you need to know. Thank you, everyone.
So sorry, somebody asked if if data engineer can work as a back-end developer. While there are some overlap in our work, it's typically different. As a matter of fact, back-end, where the work of back-end developer stops, that's where our starts, right? And we build APIs. So we both build APIs. That's the thing that we have in common. Emperor. I don't know emperor of which empire you are, but I just assume you must have an empire. Thank you.
Thank you, Ola.
Welcome.
Thank you, everyone. You'll see us in we would like to see you again in our next webinar. Have a wonderful day.